Sir.
Thanks for checking out Chamber Web TV. This is Cambridge Votes 2014, a conversation with the candidates for the upcoming October 27th municipal election. I'm Greg DeRocher, President and CEO of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure to sit down with Regional Council candidate John Florence. John.
Hey, thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Great to see you.
Good to see you, too.
You've been here before.
Yes, I have. Yes, the Chamber's a very active part of our community, yes.
But you've also been in this position, running for council.
Oh, I have been, yes. I was fortunate to be a ward councillor way back, and that gave me some good experience as to how the local council operates and some of the priorities.
So you're not oblivious to what government does. You do know.
Yes, I do know.
And of course, you've been a taxpayer a long time, so you really know what government is.
That's for sure, Greg. You know, as a small business person, you're always dealing with taxes, and I happen to run a sign company, so I'm quite often before council representing businesses, and they want a logo on their building or something like that.
Yeah, so you know all
so
of
it's
the challenges and hurdles you have to. I'm going to ask you the toughest question you could ever be asked running for any office anywhere on the planet. Why are you running, John?
That's a good question, and I think it's a very important question, Greg. I think the most important thing is you feel like you can make a difference, and you know, I've been in business. Fortunately, my son and I. We're celebrating our 45th year in business.
Congratulations.
In the community, and I think that kind of says something. I went through the flood of 1974. We went through a couple of recessions, a couple of mini bumps along the way there. But I think the most important thing, I'm a people person, and I think I could represent the people of Cambridge well at the region.
So then what is the biggest issue facing the region and municipalities in Ontario?
Well, I think, Greg, I think that's a very important question. And I think I could boil it down to these points. And it would be taxes, debt, I think lack of communication to the local taxpayer, and really a lack of leadership in the region.
Well, taxes used to be everybody's lingo.
No kidding, eh? Yeah, it seems to be an ever-increasing burden of taxation.
Now, you served on council before.
Right.
So, do taxes have to go up every single year?
No, I don't believe so. It was interesting, the KW Record did a really good job a couple Saturdays ago, and be worth people taking a look at it. They had 2 or 3 full-page articles, and they compared the cost of inflation over the last number of years and the taxes that the 3 major players, Cambridge, Kitchener, and Waterloo, and they compared the taxes. And I'm sad to say that the Cambridge resident has been paying the most, about 10% of our tax money in comparison to the cost of living. So I mean, we can't keep that up. I think every level of government needs to do a little bit better job of managing the tax.
I once did a study and found that 50 years ago, and I know
you were 7, weren't you?
Well, I was 8 actually. But 50 years ago, household income between now and then has gone up 750%.
Wow.
But taxes have gone up 1,900%.
Wow.
So if you just put a graph up, at some point those lines are going to come together where the ability for the taxpayer to earn money is going to be outdone by the government's need for money. And how, where does it end?
Right. Yeah, that's true. I think one of the big concerns is that, we have a lot of pensioners, and it's an older community. We're all getting older. We're all living longer. And, I think that every level of government, especially the municipality, needs to be, very frugal when it comes to the spending of money. I think that, I'll give you a perfect example. I ran into a couple just a couple of weeks ago. Just for my analogy, I'll call them Bill and Sue. And they were old neighbors of mine. They're retired senior citizens. They have a small 900 square foot wartime home that they had raised their family in. They're still living there. And I said to him, "Hey, Bill, Sue, I hear that where are you going away this winter?" Because each winter they try to squeeze out 10 days or 2 weeks and take a trip, and it's well deserved. So they said to me, "Well, here's the situation, John." He says, "Our roof's gone. So you know what? We're going to have to put our money into replacing that roof." Mm-hmm. So what they're doing, Greg, is they're prioritizing. Yeah. They have a planned budget. Mm-hmm. They realize they have a limited amount of money to spend, and so they're saying, "Hey, something's got to go here." So I mean, it's sacrificial. Sometimes it's painful, but they've decided, "Hey, you know what? We need to fix the roof.
Yeah,
the holiday has to wait."
Smart choice.
Yeah,
right? They have to.
Right. And so I asked myself, like, why can't our politicians stay within, a strict budget? Why can't we prioritize projects? I think a lot of people are disappointed.
Well, but what about this, John?
Yes.
You've been around the horn.
Right.
And you go to Cambridge City Council budget debates, and there's the council chambers are largely full.
Right.
You go to regional council budget debates, and council chambers are largely empty.
Okay, yeah. And that's interesting, Greg, because when I was a ward councillor a number of years ago, about 25% of our money went to the region. And nowadays, I think it's approximately...
It's over 50.
60, yeah, and I've heard approximately 60%. So, the control of the spending has gone to the region. And this is why it's important, I think, to have a business perspective as to budgeting and prioritizing the projects and how money should be spent. I mean, it's no news that a lot of people in Cambridge are upset with the LRT. And we seem to be getting the short end of the stick when it comes to large projects like that. Unfortunately, one of our existing candidates, or one of our existing reps on regional council, voted in favor of the LRT. And I don't know what she was thinking, actually, because it's a lot of money. I don't think we'll ever pay the debt load that this present regional council has created. I mean, when you get the bureaucracy...
You talked about debt, and there was just a report out recently that says, it's doubled in the last, 5 years or 7 years or something.
Yeah, and not only that, when you get the bureaucrats warning the politicians in the region that, hey, we got to pull back our spending, otherwise, our credit rating is going to drop. And so, I mean, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scene. I think the planning, like I know the region is quick to say, well, the LRT was a 20-year project in the planning, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, it's 20 years planning on the wrong infrastructure. I mean, there's no glory about repairing roads or fixing sewers. But, all you got to do is drive around the region and you'll realize, we shouldn't be doing patchwork.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to do the job right, you're going to have to, tear up the whole road and do the replacements that are necessary. And
Bill and Sue can only patch their roof so long before they have to replace the whole
That's
thing.
true. That's a very good point. Yeah.
Didn't mean to give you that, but but then you talked also about leadership, and you're not running for regional chair, you're running for regional council, so.
Right, yeah. Well, I think leadership from a political perspective is really about trying to keep in touch with the local constituent. And I think, we could do more polling, perhaps more surveys, that type of thing. I know at the federal level, they'll often do that, where they'll poll the people and say, hey, what do you think of gun control, or what do you think of this? And I think it's important to get some feedback from the people, and so that we can, need to get a consensus.
That generally takes an initiative from the candidate, or the person in office. So, I think, that's what you're bringing to the table. You would want to talk.
Well, the other thing too, Greg, what I would hope to do is actually sit on, go to city council, and just like any other resident, I'll be in the audience. And, when there's critical issues or projects that come up that, need to be discussed and maybe presented to the regional level for funding or zoning or whatever, then I want to be tuned in. I
Well,
want to be
that
tuned
brings
in
me
what's
to an
going on.
interesting, one of my other questions was talking about
Yeah.
the separated council issue. And,
Yeah.
you know, I served on local council,
Right.
and when I was there, the regional councilors also
Mm-hmm.
sat around the horseshoe with city council. They had a vote. They were an active participant on local issues, as well as going up to the region to make decisions too.
Sure.
And I think, you know, at the time when it separated, I was kind of in favor of it. You know, we were
Yeah.
talking about austerity. You know, how do we cut costs? Well, we'll move. You know, we don't need as many counselors and all. But you know what? At the end of the day, I think I would look at it now and say we probably lost something there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think maybe we have lost a little bit of that continuity, and I think maybe the way initially to restore that, because as you well know, the way the process is set up, if we want to do something along the line that the mayor was talking about, where we go back to the old system of having a person represent both local council and regional council, it's going to take a number of years to get people on board. And the municipality, the region will have to agree to it. So, over the next 4 years, my hope would be to be attuned as much as possible.
Yeah.
And, to present those ideas at a regional level. And not only that, but to bring back some of the ideas that
Yeah.
the region is talking about and the plans that they have.
Yeah.
And express that maybe even at the local council level, as a delegation even if necessary.
Well, I had a local ward councilor, incumbent, that I was interviewing this morning, and
Right.
he said exactly that. So oftentimes you don't even know, and all of a sudden it
Right.
shows up on your desk. Well, I didn't even know this was happening, and
Yeah.
and I think some of that connectivity, there's no question, I think, about it. It has been lost.
The only problem is that I know when I sat in council, the old system was that you would elect your ward councilor. Then those ward councilors at the first
Would pick their
council
regional
meeting
candidate.
would pick a regional council. And what happened is you could tell there was usually less new people than existing councilors, and there was favoritism, obviously.
Or
So all the old
seniority level.
councilors
Yeah.
would vote in favor of their guy or their person, and the new councilors maybe would vote in favor of someone hoping to break in.
Yeah.
And usually what it was, you had the same people going
Yeah,
up to
yeah,
the
I think
region
that's-
as sat on the council for a number of years.
Yeah.
So, I like the fact that there's a lot of candidates and a lot of people running, and I think we do need some change. Change is always a good thing.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have one new one.
Yeah, that's
for
true.
sure.
At the regional level, yes.
Claudette has decided not to run this time around.
Right.
And there are most other regions, or a lot of other regions in the province, did go to the separated council model as well. But all of them are back to.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Niagara
Right.
has flipped back as well, and
Oh, really?
regional
Interesting.
councilors.
Yeah.
So, it's not beyond possibilities.
Oh,
that
sure.
could be reversed. But,
Yeah, I think we should investigate it.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that will, end in better communication.
Yeah.
With the taxpayer, because we're footing the bill, both locally and for the region,
no
school
question
board.
about that.
So, yeah.
Economic development, as you probably well know, is really important to the Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
And the region's undergoing a study, and there was some problems we don't necessarily get into, but there were a couple of companies that just didn't feel the love in the region and decided to either move out or not
Yeah.
move here. And so that caused the Chamber some strife. We actually kind of inspired, I guess we didn't ask for a study, but we inspired it. So it's being done, looking at, whether or not a new regional organization that they're trying to make it as independently or private sector driven as possible, but
Right.
government has a hard time letting go of anything.
True.
However, there are some concerns. Obviously, Cambridge is largely industrial, where Kitchener-Waterloo is finance and institutional
true.
and high
Yeah.
tech. So, we want to make sure that Cambridge has gotten their attention as well for foreign direct investment. What do you think of this whole?
Yeah, well, I think, anything which would help bring jobs to the region, to the community, is going to be a good thing. One of the you often have the municipalities are competing against each other at international or provincial or federal shows, and that becomes fairly expensive for the local community. So maybe if there's a way of sharing costs and promoting the region, as the place to be for manufacturing, or new services, or there's a lot of scientific interest in Waterloo. I think it's probably certainly worthwhile looking at.
Yeah, it's certainly worthwhile looking at. I think we really need to, from Cambridge's perspective, keep an eye on it, because we don't want to get lost.
No, that's true. That's true.
We want to make sure that industry is a lot harder to attract than some other businesses.
And we've got such a great diversity of industry right here already.
Well, we're the center of the universe. I've told you that.
Yeah.
Our airport's really important.
Right. Yes, it is.
Now under the ownership of the regional Waterloo, they fund it to the tune of about $6 million a year, taxpayers' money. So there was a study that happened, and you and I both talked a little bit about using the airport. We love using the airport.
Yes.
And I use it every opportunity I can. So there was a study undertaken to look at options on how we can grow our airport and make it more viable from an economic development tool. Option 1 resulted in do nothing. Option 2 resulted in do nothing except paint the outside of the building. Option 3 was to engage the private sector in development and hopefully grow the airport. Option 3 and 4. 4 was just more elaborate, but to engage the private sector to help provide the funds to do the things that are necessary and hopefully mitigate some of the taxpayers' contribution to the whole thing. What do and I know there are issues with planes flying over people's houses and all that kind of stuff, but what's your feeling on that? Because they've put it on hold now. They've said no because of some of the complaints. They've put it on hold. What do you think of this?
Well, I mean, initially, that airport has been there a long time. So if you're going to buy a house, it may not be the best choice of Breslau at the moment. If the airport's going to be expanded.
But part of the deal is you got a red blinking light on your chimney. I don't think it's a good signal.
If you're concerned, but a good place to live, move to Cambridge.
Yeah.
So that's how it'll work in our favor.
Yeah.
But anyways, no, I think it's important. Obviously, travel and air travel and executives wanting to come to the area to check out our environment and our neighborhoods and our government and our attitude. I mean, the Waterloo region is obviously one of the fastest growing regions in Canada now. I think we were number 2 or thereabouts.
Yeah.
You probably have better input on that than I would, but so I mean, in order to sustain that, we have to provide the services, for large companies, and not only that, it's flying parts in and out.
Oh yeah, cargo is important too.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's a natural that airport will expand over the years. It has to. Our hope, if I'm fortunate enough to be a regional rep, I would think a big chunk of that should be from the federal government, personally. And when it comes to aviation and
private-public partnerships, I think they work well.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of opportunity. It's really a very undeveloped area as far as industry and commercial and that type of thing. And I just think that there's a lot of opportunity there.
Tell me something, John.
Yes.
What's a region do terribly wrong? But what's something that they do very well?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think terribly wrong. The LRT is top of my list. That seemed to be the number.
And what was that all about? Was that
biggest
communication?
issues.
Was that just was it them receiving the communication that they didn't understand? I don't know.
Well, I hope it's not just some politician's pet project because, or a legacy project. You often see that in municipal governments as well, where, the mayors or the powers to be like to spend money on special interest projects. And I think it all comes down to the responsibility to the taxpayers of how we can best allocate the money. And honestly, I think they like to call that LRT from one mall to another. I mean, to me, it doesn't make any sense. There's a throughway that goes from that one mall already to the other mall.
Yeah.
Put some small buses. There's a big bus facility at the Fairview mall there.
Almost like a mini terminal.
Yes, and I've been there early in the morning, and like the number of college students, the buses are full, and people going off to different areas of the city. Okay, so you have some small airport bus type buses available. So you've only got 10 people going up that way, they can go. And then I say the problem with tracks is they go in one direction, there and back.
And hard to move.
With small buses or airport style buses, you could go to companies and businesses and commercial enterprises and pick people up in the residential areas that you can't accommodate with what they're talking about. I just honestly do not see how practical it is. I would be in favor of the track from Milton to Cambridge.
Yeah.
That we've been asking for 40 years. I hope we get to see that, Greg, in our lifetime.
I do too, because I think that'll have a huge impact on Cambridge. There's no question.
I mean, we already have a huge population in the Hespeler area, especially, and a lot of areas in Cambridge who are using the 401. They go to their jobs in Toronto. So that would be, to me, a better use of the taxpayers' money.
I would agree. You know what, John? I'm really excited this time around. I'm a little geeky guy. Every time the new device comes out, I got to have it. And my kids laugh at me and everybody laughs at me. But I'm excited for one reason. The internet's over 25 years old. It's the 21st century. I can do my banking online. I can do investment banking online. Heck, I can do almost anything I want online, but I could never vote online.
Okay.
So I often say to people, if you don't think Cambridge City Council has done one thing right over the last 4 years, maybe the only thing they did was to say we should have online voting. What do you think of it?
Well, I think they've probably done more than just one thing.
Yeah.
Right. But with all due respect, I think it's a great idea. Apparently, even we're going to be allowed to do some phone banking. Phone banking.
Telephone voting,
bank your vote, okay, folks? Add John Florence to that list, will you please? But just the opportunity. I think it starts around October 11th
to the 25th.
And so if people are shut in, I'm just thinking for like the nursing homes and things like that. There's a means of where a person could use a cell phone and they could phone their vote in.
Yeah.
And the idea of the internet, I know I've got 5 grown children, and 3 of them live in Cambridge and have homes, and they're busy.
Yeah.
Their lifestyles are busy. Husband and wife both work, and they're busy. They got kids for sports and everything, and it's too easy for the election day to slip by.
You're
so
right.
now we've got a couple of weeks to honestly look, at what's happening. I mean, I appreciate the fact that the chamber's making this platform available, because it gives an opportunity for people once again at the web.
Yeah.
So take a look at
the convenience
at the
and
candidates.
24/7.
Yeah, and it's tough, when you're running a campaign for municipal politics. There's no parties involved.
No.
There's no real funding involved.
There's no big engine out there.
Yeah. So to make the people in Cambridge aware through the platform you guys are providing is step number 1, and step number 2 is, hey, I'll vote for this person because I like what they have to say.
I actually sometimes, of course, you know how I am. I'm laying in bed thinking of weird things all night. But
is that how you ended up in this position?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But I actually envision now candidates running around with tablets under their arm between the 11th and the 25th and saying, "Are you going to vote? Yes, we'll do it right now."
Can I have your code number?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I just think it's about time. I asked for it back in the 90s.
Oh, wow.
And when I was on council, I said, why don't we look at, they did look into it, but security issues were bigger then than they are.
You were always a forward thinker.
I don't know about that, but I was maybe a little lazy. Thought, if I don't have to...
And so close to being our mayor, Greg, it almost squeaks, I still hear that squeaking
I might have been
noise.
able to get the extra votes if we'd had online voting.
Maybe
but,
so.
I'm putting together a video with the city of Cambridge about promoting online voting.
Great.
And had an opportunity to go out to the ball and interview some people who are maybe voters.
What do the people think?
It was great.
Yeah? Super.
You know, of course, you've got the mature voter.
Right.
I don't want to say
Yep.
older voter because we're not older, we're just mature.
Yeah, you'll see me at the poll, folks.
Yes, exactly. Well, and that's what they were
Yeah.
saying. They were saying, no,
Yeah.
it's tradition. You get dressed, you go down to the poll,
That's
and you
right.
cast your ballot.
Yes.
But then I had some younger folks come in and say, yes,
Right.
I vote.
Right.
Well, now you're going to be able to do it online. They say, great, I'll do it right on my smartphone.
Yes,
And-
and well, you know what is interesting, because as you recall, last election, there was a little bit of negativity
Yeah.
out there about some polls that...
Well, they had to be a handicap accessible, and they had to
And they
make
weren't.
changes at the last minute.
Yeah, and things like that. And so, I mean, this certainly gives folks every opportunity
Yeah.
to vote.
No
And
excuse.
you know, it's not only a privilege; it's a responsibility.
I think so,
mean,
too.
this
Yeah.
is a democracy. You want to teach your kids to vote.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get them informed. But you know, a great thing would be take your kids down one night to City Hall and let them see how things
how
operate.
council works.
Yeah.
I did that with my kids. You
Yeah.
probably did it with your kids, and it's
Yes.
important. You know,
and it can be so boring, folks. It'll help put them to
It's
sleep. Trust
there's
me.
no question about it. If you're having trouble getting your kids to sleep, take them to
down
a
to City
council. John, is there any last words for the voters of Cambridge?
Well, I just would like to say, probably in closing, Greg, that I would hope that the voters of Cambridge would realize that I am concerned about taxes. I'm concerned about the debt load. I'm concerned about communication. And I'm also concerned about leadership. I would hope that if you choose John Florence as one of your candidates of two for regional council, that I would do a good job. And as Fred Kent used to say, a really well-respected counselor that we had in Cambridge for many years, I'll do my best. And that's what I promise to do.
Yeah, that's great. Well, folks, thanks again for checking out Chamber Web TV. This is Cambridge Votes 2014, a conversation with the candidates for the upcoming October 27th municipal election. Again, I'm Greg DeRocher, and it's been a privilege to sit down with regional candidate John Florence. John,
Thanks very much, Craig.
all the best.
Thank you.